It's the amazing Rico Brogna podcast with your host, Evan Roberts.
Rico Brogna, episode number 492. We're doing something a little bit different on this West Coast Rico Brogna. We actually are beginning the episode, for those that consume this live and for those that are listening as they drive to work on a Tuesday morning, actually in the middle of the game. The Mets had just blown a 2-1 lead in the ninth inning. Edwin Diaz gave up a sacrifice fly to Shohei Ohtani. And so we're picking this up in extra innings. And the Mets have just taken a 2-run lead in the 10th inning. First, it was a Francisco Alvarez RBI double, shockingly. Not too far after Gary Cohn and Keith Hernandez followed the discussion from the Rico about sending him down to the minor leagues. And Francisco Lindor has ripped an RBI single. So the Mets began this top of the 10th inning after Edwin Diaz blew his first game of the year, and they've started off in style with back-to-back hits against the now mortal, thank God the Mets didn't sign him, at least as of now, Tanner Scott. And the Mets have a 4-2 lead. So this is an experiment because I don't know if I want to do Rico Brogna's while a Met game is going on, but Hoff asked, and he insisted, and he said, wouldn't this be fun? Well, now that the Mets have scored 2 runs in the top of the 10th inning, so far this is fun. But this whole game has been fun and frustrating all at the same time. I want to go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Edwin Diaz comes in. I wasn't positive, based on the way Mendy was handling his bullpen, if Edwin Diaz was even available in this game. Clearly, he didn't want to use both Reed Garrett and Edwin Diaz. So he uses Huascar Brazoban in the 6th inning, fine. Max Kranick in the 7th, Ryan Stanek in the 8th, and I wasn't sure, is it no Diaz and Garrett? Is it Diaz and no Garrett, or Garrett and no Diaz, or would it possibly be neither guy? They both pitched 2 out of the last 3 days. This would be 3 out of 4. Lindor now steals second base, so the Mets are trying to pile on runs in the 10th inning. There's still nobody out. So I'm maintaining this balance off. I'm scoring the game, I'm watching the game, and we're doing an in-house, in-game Rico Brogna. So I'll do my best to stay focused. I do know that they're using Starling Marte, or they used, I should say, Starling Marte to pinch run for Alvarez. He scored on the RBI hit by Lindor, and right now they have a runner on second base. I guess there is one out. Did Brandon Nimmo just strike out? Is that what I missed off?
I guess so. Yeah, because on that stolen base, Lindor stole, and then and Nimmo got out. So there you go.
This is my kryptonite. My kryptonite is I'm trying to keep track of both things that are happening at the same time. So now there's one out and a runner on second, and Juan Soto's at the plate. And guess what Juan Soto did? The most typical Juan Soto thing. He grounded out weakly to first base for the second out. So they're going to need a 2-out hit from Pete Alonso if he gets a chance to hit here. It's Alonso and then Vientos, because Vientos pinch hit for Young a few innings earlier, and then Brett Beatty. So I think I would assume Tanner Scott's going to go after Pete. But right now the Mets have a 2-run lead. It is important to me to get this 3rd run because in the 10th inning, not only obviously do the Dodgers have a runner on base, so the tying run's going to come to the plate in a 2-run game, but you are talking about Freddie Freeman, Andy Pages, and Max Muncy. So this is a huge spot right now to get that 3rd run. A 1-run lead in the extra inning rule is like bare minimum. A 2-run lead is basically like a 1-run lead because you're coming up, if you're the opponent, with the tying run at the plate every single time. Pete just missed a home run the opposite way. I didn't even think for a second it was going out.
I thought it was foul the whole time. Yeah.
You thought that was out?
No, I thought it was foul the whole time. I thought it was going to go out, but foul. And then the way that Hernandez was playing, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Does it have a chance?
Yeah, off the bat, it looked like it was going to be an obvious foul ball, and it actually missed being an opposite field home run by maybe no more than 5 feet. But Alonso has a 2-1 count right now with a runner on second base, or now runner on third base, I should say, with 2 outs. But they have a 2-run lead. It appears like Jose Castillo is at least going to start the 10th inning because the Dodgers are going to have 3 lefties out of 4 coming up in the 10th inning. So I just assume Castillo is going to get the clear shot to save this game because otherwise you're looking at Reed Garrett, who I don't think is available in this game, and Jose Butto. And I would think Jose Butto is available. He didn't pitch on Sunday, but he did pitch an inning and 2/3 on Saturday. So I'm going to guess that Jose Castillo, who so far has been a good Met, we'll see if he can continue this, is basically going to get that entire 10th inning to try to save the game. It is a 3-2 count on Pete Alonso. That bottom of the 9th inning was scary shit, though, because Diaz gives up the leadoff hit to Tommy Edman, which was so typical. Tommy Edman, who's been a pain in our ass now for a year straight, and today's his bobblehead day. How much of a troll was that? The Dodgers decide to have Tommy Edman bobblehead day when the Mets are in town after he won the National League Championship Series MVP a year ago. Not a bad troll, by the way. I'm not mad about it. It's a smart troll, but it's an obvious troll. Alonso fouls off the 3-2 pitch. So Pete's battling right now. Pete's taking an 0 for 3 with a hit batsman so far in this game. He did a line out in the first inning. He flied out in the 5th inning, and he hit that foul pop-up that I think he was called out for even before it was caught because he got in the way of Dalton rushing. At least it looked like Andy Fletcher was making that signal. Before I get to that 9th inning, let me just see this 3-2 pitch to Alonso. He tries
to
swing. He held up ball 4. So here's a big spot now for Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos did not start this game, which annoyed me. If you've listened to the Rico Brogna, even against right-handed starters, I want Vientos playing. Give me Beatty at third base. Give me Vientos at DH. I don't need to see Jared Young. The last time I bitched about it, Jared Young hit a home run. In this game, Jared Young went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. He almost bounced into a double play in the 4th inning. He did beat that out. So it was a weekday for Jared Young, but Mendy went to Vientos as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning, and it looked like he was hitting a first pitch home run, but the wind just absolutely blew it down. Here, Mark Vientos hits one deep in the hole at shortstop, and he never got out of the box. Like, what the hell happened? He injured himself.
Hamstring.
Yeah,
back of his right hamstring.
Vientos hit a ground ball deep into the hole at shortstop, and I thought maybe he could beat it out. He never got out of the box. He's walking very gingerly away, and he fell down. You know what? He may not be hurt because he got up limping, but you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of embarrassment limp because Vientos fell on his stomach. Like he literally ran out of the box knowing, hey, maybe I can sniff a hit here. And he fell down straight down. And then when he got up, it was like embarrassment. And then he held his leg. So maybe I'm being optimistic here, but I'm going to make your prediction. Mark Vientos is not actually hurt. We're not going to find out in this game because he is the designated hitter, so he's not going out to the field. So unless he's forced to get another at-bat, which wouldn't come until the potential 12th or 13th inning, but then again, Mets-Dodgers extra innings, it could happen, like we saw last Friday. We may not know till after the game, but I'm going to guess to you right now, Hoff, that's what we call an embarrassment injury. He fell down and was like, let me hold my leg to make it look like something bad happened.
For a second there, I really thought, I was like, is Mark Vientos that fast? Did he actually get to first base and we even see the throw over? And then, then I see him hold it back. I mean, I understand the whole that's I got hurt type of look, but there's also possibilities Mark Vientos, and this could actually save us from having to send anybody down or do what. Like Mauricio can get an easy spot right now if Mark Vientos is actually injured for a little bit.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I want Mark Vientos playing. I want him getting out of it. I've seen signs of him getting out of it. Even that at-bat he had as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning, he smoked it. Gary Cohen called it like a home run. I thought off the bat it was going to be a home run, but the wind brought it back. So let's set up this bottom of the 10th inning. The Mets have a 2-run lead. So with the runner on second rule, the Dodgers are going to have the tying run at the plate. It's basically like having a 1-run lead the way Edwin Diaz had in the 9th inning. That's the way I look at this. And Jose Castillo is coming on to try to save this game. He's got to deal with Freddie Freeman, who's 2 for 4 in this game. He's got to deal with Andy Pages, and then he's got to deal with Max Muncy. So this is a real tricky spot for Jose Castillo. And let me just declare this. I know that the Mets, for the most part, have done a great job when they had leads late. I think after 7, their record was 35-1, something like that. And the Dodgers are good and all that. And this is a tricky spot for Castillo. They lose this game, this is a disaster. I'll just say it right now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, so that adds to it. It's 1 o'clock in the freaking morning. They've had multiple leads against this freaking team. They got to win this game. And unfortunately, Jose Castillo is immediately fallen behind Freddie Freeman 3-0. I think with Podges up on deck, they're not bunting or anything like that. It'll just bring the lead run to the plate. Now, I mentioned the bullpen situation. Reed Garrett's clearly not available. Jose Butto he's warming up in the bullpen. So the way I see it right now, and remember the Dodgers have 4 right-hand hitters off the bench, Kiki Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, Will Smith, and Mookie Betts. I think if they go to a right-handed bat for Conforto, then we would see Butto. Freddie Freeman swings and fouls one off on 3-1. So Castillo's fought back to make it 3-2. So Castillo's got Freeman. Castillo has to have Podges, and he's going to have Muncy. If Conforto hits, it'll be Castillo. I don't think he will. I would assume that Dave Roberts will go to one of his right-handed bats, and that's when Mendy makes the decision as he go to the right-hander. 3-2 pitch, ball 4. So here we go. We're all set up. First and second, nobody out. That's the tying run on first, the winning run at the plate. And we're going to find out a little bit about Jose Castillo, who, let's not forget, 1 series ago, won the Rico I'm the Man Now star of the series. He was the winner from that Chicago White Sox series. So Jose Castillo trying to avoid going from I'm the man now to the net negative. And I got to tell you, if he blows a 2-run lead here in the 10th inning and gives up a walk-off home run to Andy Podges, call me crazy, I may call him the net negative. We're going to find out if Castillo can get through this, but he's behind Podges 1-0 too.
I feel like everyone's at bats in the previous time they were around. Like Pages hit a ball deep to center field. Max Muncy hit a ball that I thought was gone last time.
Me
it
too.
Died out to the warning track as well. I just feel like they're all looking to take one out.
Yeah, I agree with you. So when Max Muncy came up and Muncy's at bat was in the 8th inning with a runner on first and 1 out, this was against Stanek. I thought off the bat, much like Keith Hernandez, that ball was gone. I thought it was going to be Ohtani-like, and it was going to be a bomb. And Gary Cohen called it so relaxed that he calmed me down, because then it turned out to be a fly ball to Juan Soto in front of the warning track. And even the Conforto ball, not as much, because that was a lazy fly ball to right, but that split second off the bat felt like it was getting out. Ground ball base hit to Podges. Jesus freaking Christ. At least Freeman stops at second. So it's an RBI single. It's a 1-run game. The Dodgers have first and second, nobody out with Muncy. Jose Butto is going to come in. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. Now, Conforto's coming out on deck, so maybe Dave Roberts is going to say, screw it. I'd rather have the Conforto-Castillo matchup than any right-hander. Obviously, if Betts is available, you're using Mookie Betts. I'm just assuming he's not, because he didn't use him in the 9th inning. He could have used him for Dalton rushing in the bottom of the 9th inning, and he didn't. But Jose Castillo, 1-1, gives up an RBI single to Podges. First and second, nobody out, 1-run lead. I tell you right now, there's no way they're winning this game. Let's just be honest. This is a West Coast 1 a.m. disaster. The only question is, who's going to stick it down our throat? Is it going to be Max Muncy, who's been hot, or is it going to be Michael Conforto against his former team? That's the real question. I'll let you guess off. Who's sticking it up our ass?
Anybody but Conforto. Let's walk the ballpark and get to Ohtani. I mean, seriously, anybody but Conforto. I'll take Muncy right now. Let him hit a 3-run shot. I don't want to see Conforto be that guy.
Well, there's a menu of options. You've got Muncy now, who's up with a 1-1 count, 2-on, nobody out. Conforto, or the NLCS MVP, Tommy Edman, on his dopey bobblehead day. By the way, I want to go back to something. Edwin Diaz against Shohei Ohtani with first and third, 1 out. And I know the at-bat may not have played out any differently, but the first pitch to Ohtani that was called a ball was a freaking disgrace. I mean, Andy Fletcher needs to be fined. The pitch was right down the middle, and it was called a ball. Anyhow, Castillo's 1-2 pitch is going to be fouled off by Max Muncy. He needs an out here. Even if it's a ground out, a pop-up, a strikeout, he just needs to get a goddamn out right now and stop the bleeding. The tying run's on second. The winning run is on first. I think Podges has decent speed on first base, if memory serves correct. So if Muncy gets one up in the alley, this game could end. Muncy could also hit one over the fence, which he's come close to doing. It's a 2-2 count to Max Muncy. But your options are Muncy, Conforto, Tommy Edman, and then Dalton rushing, the rookie catchers due up. And like I said, Dave Roberts didn't use Will Smith. He didn't use Mookie Betts. He didn't pitch hit for rushing in the 9th inning. So maybe he's just going to let him play throughout this game. Anyhow, the 2-2 pitch is a big-ass strikeout by Jose Castillo. Big-ass strikeout. That's a big ball strikeout by Jose Castillo. So here's an interesting spot. I'm managing a long, Hoff, and I thought Roberts would pinch hit for Conforto, who's a mess right now with a right-hander. It doesn't look like he's doing it. He's keeping Conforto in the game, which could create this very painful moment for us because it's Conforto against the Mets. But he's also making things, I think, easier for Mendy to keep the lefty-lefty advantage with Conforto versus Jose Castillo.
Oh, wait, hold on.
No, Dave Roberts is arguing, Hoff. That's what's going on.
Oh, good. I'll take
Dave Roberts was not happy, I think, with the 2-1 pitch that I thought was on the outside. Oh, no, they are calling back Conforto. So was Dave Roberts too busy arguing to even let Conforto know, don't go to the plate, I'm going to pinch hit for you? He's going to send up Will Smith. And my assumption now is that Mendy's going to respond with Jose Butto.
There we go.
But how weird is that Conforto actually got into the batter's box?
He was there.
He was there. It's like Cousin Dave wasn't even paying attention to what the hell was going on.
You know what? Michael Conforto probably was in like his head, like, dude, this is my moment. I can't wait. And then Dave's like, get the hell back here. What are you doing? He wasn't yelling at the umpire. He was yelling at Conforto.
Yeah, unless the righty coming in is so intimidating, not pinch hitting for Conforto makes no sense because you have an option if you're Roberts. You've got Conforto versus Castillo. And right now, the way Conforto's hitting, he's not a good matchup against anybody. I mean, lefty, righty, it doesn't matter. He's had such a dreadful season. If you go to the righty, yeah, it's obvious this is what's going to happen. You're going to get Jose Butto, but I don't think you're that intimidated by Butto. I think what you should be thinking about right now is I got to get my better hitter up. And when you look at the Dodger bench with Kiki Hernandez and Miguel Rojas and Will Smith and Mookie Betts, if you assume Mookie isn't available, and clearly he's not, we'll see if he's in the lineup tomorrow or in the lineup on Wednesday, then your best hitter is Will Smith. So 2 on, 1 out for Will Smith. My confidence level is still, I got to tell you, very low that we're going to find a way to get out of this thing. How about you?
Are we really in the situation where Jose Castillo's the pitcher on the mound? Like, how did we get here? There was nobody else available?
Well, think about it.
I know now it's Butto, but yeah.
They've used their entire bullpen outside of Reed Garrett. So when you have a 6th starter, like the Mets did with Paul Blackburn today, and we'll get to his outing once this game is final, we'll go through the entire game. But when you have a 6th starter, you're only going to have 7 guys in your bullpen. Now, usually you have 8 guys in your bullpen because you have 13 pitchers on your roster. So you're already starting with only 7 guys. Clearly, Reed Garrett is the one guy that they're not making available. And I think a part of why they're not making him available is more tomorrow than it is today. Because Garrett and Diaz are in a similar situation in which they both pitched 2 out of 3 days over the weekend against Colorado. So if they pitch today, it's 3 out of 4 days, which makes them unavailable for game 2 of this series. I think you put yourself in a spot where if you use everybody, you're going to have very limited availability tomorrow in a game you're going to try to win. So I think I'm going to assume that's a big part of why Reed Garrett isn't available. But Jose Butto is their last available reliever. And now he's going to try to get Will Smith out with 2 on and 1 out, and he's going to throw a strike 1 pitch, which is very important. Do a fastball right down the middle to Will Smith, try to get ahead of the count, and hopefully, dare I dream, get him to turn one over and ground into a 6-4-3 double play, or dare I say a 5-4-3 double play, and we can have a nice 1 a.m. celebration. That's certainly the goal, but they only had 7 relievers available. Brazoban, who they used in the 6th, Diaz in the 9th, Stanek in the 8th, Butto obviously right now, Kranick in the 7th, and Jose Castillo, their one available lefty. So I don't think this was bullpen mismanagement. It was just they're short in the bullpen when they're using a 6th starter. Will Smith hits one to center field. Calm down. Tyrone's going to make the play. Freeman's going to tag up and go to 3rd. I'm not doing play-by-play. I'm just responding. And now we're 1 out away. And isn't this typical? Isn't this typical? It is going to come down to that shithead himself. I'm sure he's a great guy, but from a baseball standpoint, giant shithead, Tommy Edman, who destroyed us last year in the National League Championship Series, one of the great July trades you'll ever make if you're the LA Dodgers. So Tommy Edman's going to come up with the tying run on 3rd. The winning run is on first base with Pages, and obviously Tommy Edman on his bobblehead day, in which his bobblehead was only picked for this day because they're facing the Mets. We got to stick it up the Dodgers' patoot right now. Because the best way to kind of troll back the bobblehead thing is to get Tommy Edman to end this game. 2 outs, first and third. Buto is behind 1-0. Hoff, what's your confidence level?
90% confident that we're going to get out of it. I think he's going to hit a hard line drive. I think he's going to hit a hard line drive to Soto and the game.
So we're going to get scared for a second. All right.
Oh, yes. He's going to hit the ball.
Swing and a miss right on top of an off-speed pitch, low and in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jose Buto, who's had a very up and down season really over the last year since he elevated himself in a bullpen role, trying to get some damn important outs. He is going to throw a fastball right at the bottom of the zone and get ahead 1-2. Jose, don't do this to us. I love Big Buto, and I cannot lie. Well, at least I say that for now.
Is he wasting a pitch here? Is he wasting a pitch? Is he going to waste a pitch here?
I would throw low and away, see if I could chase here on 1-2. By the way, I'm surprised they're not trying to catch Buto off guard and try to steal second here with Podges. But they haven't tried that yet. All right, big pitch by Jose. He's ahead 1-2, and he's going to get a ground ball back to the mound. Buto fields it, flips it to first, and we've survived. Woo-hoo! I was confident all along, Hoff. I don't know why you were so nervous.
Way to make us sweat, boys. Why do this at 1:15? I mean, come on. It's a West Coast game.
I know. I mean, you couldn't have just had Edwin Diaz pitch a 1-2-3 ninth inning, call it a day. Instead, we got to sweat this one out. Well, you got to see this live because I would have said this on the post-game Rico anyway. I would have said what I just said, which is I was never confident. that 9th and 10th inning was absolute torture. But hey, that's the ultimate payback to the LA Dodgers and Tommy Edman. You want to make his bobblehead day on a day you're facing the Mets after winning the NLCS MVP. Okay, we're going to get him to end the game. Great job by Jose Buto, who comes in and gets the final 2 outs, gets Will Smith to fly out the center field, gets ahead of Tommy Edman, gets him on a comebacker, and somehow the Mets survived this game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I want to go back, though, because there's so many things I want to get to from this game. You mentioned the bullpen. And, hey, how do we end up in a spot where basically they're running out of bullpen arms in the 10th inning? That goes back to a decision that Carlos Mendoza made earlier in this game that I can't even say I killed at the time, but it's worth talking about, especially when you know you're short bullpen arms. And that's taking Paul Blackburn out after 5 innings. I received a few in-game Rico emails, including one from a loyal listener, Allison Kane, who writes, I can't watch or listen to the end of this game, but Blackburn pitched better than I expected. I'm actually wondering why he was taken out after 5 innings, as he seemed to be doing fine. Then our overworked bullpen comes out, and the Dodgers start reaching base. I have to stop, so I'll learn tomorrow what happened. I suspect we'll lose this game, which seems like a waste and a shame. But maybe you have a different take on this. Allison. Now, first of all, I hope Allison is listening to the podcast as a way to find out how the game ended. That's what we should sell as those that are downloading it, wherever you're downloading the Rico. Download this and hear the final inning just in case you fell asleep and you didn't watch the final inning. And you could hear our live reactions, not even knowing how this game would end. But I do agree with Allison. I thought this would end badly. But the Blackburn decision, I think, had more to do with, all right, this is his first start of the season at the major league level, at least. It's his first start in the major league since August. Let's get him out on a high note. Let's not push him much further. That's what I assume goes into a decision like that, because on the other side, knowing you are short your bullpen, and you're short your bullpen for 2 reasons. You're short your bullpen, like we talked about, because you just have less guys available in your bullpen when you're working with a 6-man rotation. And also, you used your bullpen recently. And it's just natural. Like, guys have pitched. Why would you take him out after 5? Now, the risk is what happened in this game. The risk is, sure, the formula works the way you expected. You get a scoreless but shaky inning out of Brazoban. You get an inning out of Max Kranick. You get an inning out of Stanek. And you go to Edwin Diaz. And I think you figured that that you are probably getting single innings out of everybody you were going to use. So you kind of knew you're using 4 relievers and hopefully you win. But if the game does go to the 10th inning, which we saw, that's when you put yourself in trouble because you leave yourself kind of short. And if, God forbid, this game continued, let's say Butto gave up the lead, but the game remained tied, there was no one else for the Mets to go to. Like, that was it. Jose Butto was basically going to get a start, and he was just going to take one for the team. So it goes back to the decision that Mendy made, taking Blackburn out after 5, which I think had more to do with Blackburn's first start than anything else. I think if Blackburn gets another start, and we'll keep an eye on that, I think you'll be able to push him a little bit more. He only threw 77 pitches. His final inning, the 5th inning, he worked out of trouble, but really it was trouble created by a Pete Alonso miscue. Pete had that little bobble on a ground ball off the bat of Tommy Edman, and that extended the inning. He did give up a base hit to Hai-Sung Kim, and then he got Ohtani to ground out, and Blackburn did a great job against Shohei Ohtani. You know, Ohtani really was held at bay. He hit the bomb of a home run in the 7th inning, but in the first 3 at-bats of this game, he strikes out, and then in a really big spot in the 5th inning, after that Alonso error and the base hit by Kim, Blackburn got him to ground out behind in the count. At least Blackburn was behind in the count. Ohtani was up with a 3-1 count. But great job by Paul Blackburn. I mean, my God, 5 scoreless innings against this lineup. And not only that, he had to make big pitches with runners in scoring position, which, as we heard all night from Gary and Keith, I should say, the Dodgers have absurd numbers with runners in scoring position. To have a .320 batting average as a team with runners in scoring position it's not even human. And it also feels really odd when you watch the Mets every day who can't buy a hit with runners in scoring position. So Blackburn had to get big outs. Runner on first, 2 outs in the first, got a big ground out of Pages, walked Muncy to lead off the second, immediately got Conforto to ground into a double play, gave up a leadoff hit to Teoscar in the 4th inning. Alonso then made a great diving play that saved the double. But then, with a runner on second and less than 2 outs, he had to get Pages and Muncy out. We talked about the issue he ran into in the 5th inning because of the Pete Alonso error. So Blackburn had to make big pitches. He got through it. 5 really good innings out of Paul Blackburn. Moving forward, the way I view this is I think he now shifts back into a long man role. And I think that's the way the Mets should handle this until Montas and Minaya come back. Montas will obviously be first and maybe real soon. But I think you keep Blackburn in the bullpen. In about 3 days, he'll be available to pitch out of the bullpen. So I assume by the time we get to, I'd say the first game in Colorado, I doubt he would be available out of the bullpen on Thursday on 2 days rest after throwing 77 pitches. But I think out of the bullpen on Friday in Colorado is certainly reasonable. And I think you use him as another reliever that can get you multiple innings until he has to start again. Now, you got to keep him stretched out to a degree, but also he may not be asked to make that many more starts. If Frankie Montas is coming back in a week or so, I think Montas slides back in. So great effort by Blackburn, but this isn't going to convince me and shouldn't convince you or the Mets that he needs to be in the rotation. He did a really good job. He was extra pumped up to face the Dodgers. First time he was doing it in his major league career, but let's not get nuts. Now, let me get to that 9th inning with Edwin Diaz because I'm still pissed off at Andy Fletcher, who should be fined for his absolutely egregious ball 1 call to Shohei Ohtani. So Edwin Diaz was bound to blow a save. And I think I've said this a few times with Edwin and a few times throughout doing the Rico and on the Fan, which is when your closer blows a save, the question is, what does it turn into? You can still win the game. Is it a full implosion? Is it all right, I escaped and I still gave my team a chance to win? What does it look like? Edwin Diaz supplied us the best resulted blown save one could ever get. Because sure, it sucks that he gave up the lead in the 9th inning and he made us sweat this one out deep into 1 a.m. But to Edwin Diaz's credit, after he gives up the sacrifice fly to Shohei Ohtani and he gives up the stolen base that really wasn't to Hai-Sung Kim, I'll get to that in a minute, Diaz settles down, takes a deep breath, and strikes out a damn good hitter in Teoscar Hernandez. He very easily could have given up the game right there in the bottom of the 9th inning, and he did not. and he allowed this team a chance to win this game in 10. So even in Edwin Diaz blowing his first game of the season, outstanding job by Diaz, limiting things, giving his team a chance to win. Now, a few things in that ninth inning. He gives up the base hit to Tommy Edman. That sucks. He doesn't even throw over. This is my one knock on Edwin with Tommy Edman on first base. At least try to keep him close. And I thought earlier in the season, Diaz was actually doing a better job of keeping base runners close because Alvarez had no chance to throw him out at second. And so Edman immediately steals second, and it puts him in a spot now where he needs strikeouts. He got one against Dalton Rushing, and then very underrated play in this game. Hae-Sung Kim hits one up the middle that looks like it's going through for a base hit and is likely tying the game. And Francisco Lindor makes an amazing headlong dive that keeps the runner Edman from scoring from second. I think you knew because Kim was fast. It was very unlikely that Francisco Lindor was going to be able to come out and throw the runner out at first base. He did not. But a great diving play by just keeping Tommy Edman at third and giving the Mets at least that glimmer of a hope that they could get through the ninth inning without blowing the lead. The problem is when Ohtani comes up, you got to strike him out. That's it. The infield has come in, which I got to tell you, I don't think I would have done. It turned out not to matter, but I would have set the infield back thinking to myself, look, I know it's unlikely I'm getting a double play. But if I give up a base hit, which is likelier with the infield in, now there's 2 on and 1 out for Teoscar Hernandez and Freddie Freeman. There's a damn good chance I'm losing the game right here and there. At least if I have the infield back, sure, I'm conceding a run, long shot double play opportunity, but it gives me a better chance to at least get that second out. And yeah, I'll play for extra innings. That's honestly what I thought. It turned out not to matter because Ohtani hit the fly ball to left field that went very, very deep. And luckily, Brandon Nimmo was able to get there and make the catch. But before Ohtani gets the sacrifice fly, Edwin Diaz throws a fastball right down the middle. Right down the middle. And I don't know what Andy Fletcher was doing. Maybe he was hanging out with the NBA officials that thought Deuce McBride was out of bounds on that corner 3. But that non-call, which Alvarez was stunned about. I mean, you saw him turn around like, what the hell just happened? And again, another spot where you give Diaz credit for not letting that rattle him because the difference between 0-1 and 1-0 is huge. He came right back on the next pitch and got Ohtani to swing through a fastball, and that got the count to 1-1. Now, the whole at-bat's different, though, if it's 0-1, especially if Diaz throws another fastball right by Ohtani and it's 0-2. He's probably throwing sliders low and away, seeing if Ohtani chases, which he may do. And instead, the count's 1-1. He hits the sacrifice fly. Andy Fletcher, get your head out of your ass. But if you want to make matters worse, as bad of a call as that was, Hae-Sung Kim, of course, running on the first pitch with Teoscar Hernandez up, and Teoscar fouls the ball off. And yet, numbnuts can't see it was fouled off. And he just calls it, swing and a miss. And Kim steals second base. Could you imagine if Hernandez got the game-winning hit in the bottom of the ninth inning? We all would have lost our minds. Well, we wouldn't have been on because our Rico started in the 10th inning. If you missed it, we began this Rico Brogna episode number 492 as the 10th inning was beginning and the Mets were taking the lead. But can you imagine if they lost this game after Andy Fletcher misses a second egregious call within 5 minutes of each other? And unfortunately, it's not challengeable. So there's nothing Carlos Mendoza can do other than whine about it or complain about it. But I don't know how he misses that. So the Mets had 2 calls, and I don't spend a lot of time on the Rico ever complaining about umpiring. And I'm only doing it, A, because it didn't cost us the game. So you can't say I'm whining too much. And B, because it was so egregious. It was so egregious. I don't know how Andy Fletcher misses that. But again, it's a credit to Edwin Diaz that he was able to get through that ninth inning. As far as the offense is concerned, they got to pick it up. I'm sorry. They scored the 2 runs in the 10th inning, but the offense through 9 innings against Dustin May, who came in with a 4 ERA, against Jack Dreyer and Lou Trevino, they did nothing. They get the leadoff home run by Lindor 2 pitches in, which was awesome. Great to see. Great way to start the evening, watching Francisco hit a bomb. And it looked like the trajectory of this game was going in a different direction, in a really good direction for us, because Lindor hits the home run, Nimmo walks on 4 pitches, and Soto has the count 2-0. So this is feeling like, wow, we may really be able to watch this Met offense jump all over Dustin May. Home run, 4-pitch walk behind Soto 2-0. And I can't kill Juan Soto for this, even though it was his 13th double play of the year. He swings 2-0, rips it. I mean, hits the ball really hard. Unfortunately, it's on the ground again, and it was right at Tommy Edman, and it turns into a 4-6-3 double play. And it felt like that double play and that sort of missed opportunity that the Mets had early to jump on Dustin May really set the tone for this offense to remain limp. Because after that, May settled in. He got Alonso out. He pitched a 1-2-3 second, a 1-2-3 third. They did have an opportunity in the fourth when Soto hit that ground rule double right down the left field line. But then, unfortunately, the immortal Jared Young grounded out. Brett Beatty struck out. They had another great opportunity in the 5th inning and did drive a run in, a big 2-out double by your boy, Brandon Nimmo. And we got screwed out of seeing the Mets score a 3rd run because Nimmo hits that majestic rip to right center field. And unfortunately, it bounces over the fence. And so Francisco Alvarez can't score from first, and he would have scored from first. Speaking of Alvarez, let me give him some credit. So Alvarez strikes out in the 3rd inning. And I think it was after the strikeout or during the strikeout, Gary Cohen and Keith Hernandez have the conversation we had on the last episode of the Rico, which is, do you send Alvarez down? And both of them seem to be in favor of it. Both of them said, yeah, it may benefit him to spend a few weeks at AAA. I made my opinion clear in episode 491. I am not into that. I would cut down his playing time a little bit. I would make the catcher position more of a share spot between him and Luis Torrens. But no, I don't think it's necessary right now. I think if you do it, it's only for him. It's not for the team. I don't think Hayden Senger being up here necessarily makes him better. And Alvarez had a really, really good day after that awful strikeout, because that 5th inning rally, which gave the Mets the 2nd run, the Brandon Nimmo RBI double we just talked about, Alvarez is behind in the count 0-2 with a runner on first, 1 out, and he flicked one in a right field for a base hit. That was a big hit. It contributed to the rally. And then obviously in the 10th inning, he turned out to be the hero because he got the game-winning hit, leading off the bottom of the 10th inning with a runner on second. And you could see he was trying to hit the ball to the right field to at least advance the runner. He not only hits it to right field, he hits it over Teoscar Hernandez's head for an RBI double. So Alvarez ends up with a 2-for-4 day. Both base hits lead to runs. The first one continuing the rally that they had in the 5th inning, and then obviously getting the game-winning hit in the 10th inning. So this was a very important night for Francisco Alvarez. Francisco Lindor continues to be red hot. We talked about the home run he hit, the bomb to start the game. Then he gets the RBI single in the 10th inning. That's as we started the Rico Brogna. But in the middle of this game, the offense didn't do anything. I mean, it's the same story. This team continues, and this is stunning to me, especially in June. This team continues to win on the backs of great pitching. We are now in June. We are past Memorial Day. We are about a month away from the 4th of July. We're not that far away from the All-Star break. And the Mets team ERA is under 3. Under 3. I mean, how is this happening? And when you look at the names of the guys in the rotation and even the names in the bullpen, it even makes it more remarkable that the pitching continues to be outstanding. You're waiting. Not anticipating it, almost fearing it, that the pitching is going to come back to earth. And it hasn't happened. But we're also simultaneously waiting for the offense to heat up, and that hasn't happened either. So for the meantime, it's working because the Mets are now 38-22, a season high 16 games above 500, but they're doing it in such an opposite way. I still think they're going to hit. I still think the pitching will come back to normal, but you go into LA, this ain't the Rockies anymore. and you hold down this offense, which they pretty much did, incredible. They hold them to 3 runs. They held them to 1 run until the bottom of the 9th inning. I think Negative Dan, I don't call Negative Dan anymore, just Dan, who's a great contributor to the Rico, Brogna, and Evan and Tiki. Dan sent an email, kind of made me chuckle over the weekend. It was complimentary, but it was also ripping of the Mets. He said only the Mets could basically play the same games against the Dodgers and the Rockies. And he's right. I mean, the Mets win close, tight, low-scoring games against Colorado, and you walk away from it saying, geez, I mean, the Rockies can't hit. We should have scored more runs, but hey, we won. And then they play the Dodgers, and it's the same game, except you're like, wow, we held down the Dodger offense. The Mets are the only team that plays the same games against Colorado and Los Angeles. How do you explain it?
I don't know, but all I'll tell you is they're 6-1 in those games. So you think about right now, the fact is that they're in this 7-game series that they're going to have versus the Dodgers. They're up 3-1 right now. They just need one more win and they take the season series versus them. I mean, that's pretty freaking awesome. When you saw especially when you saw what the Dodgers did this weekend versus the Yankees. I mean, they beat the piss out of Will Warren in Saturday's game. Max Fried, they completely dismantled. Paul Blackburn, you touched it earlier, dude. Ohtani was 0 for 3 versus him. I mean, that was impressive.
Yeah.
To be able to shut down Shohei Ohtani that way, I'll tip my cap to Paul Blackburn.
Yeah, we'll see if they get through these 3 games without the Dodgers exploding for 18 runs, because it's certainly on the table, but they've done a great job, and now they are 1 win away. If they can get one more win in this series, not only will they get a split against the Dodgers, but as we talked about on the last Rico, they'd win the tiebreaker against the Dodgers. Let me get to some of your emails. Lance writes, I really don't love Edwin Diaz not pitching a second inning, even with the lefties up. He only had 19 pitches. I really hope this works out. Hopefully Mark Vientos is okay, but if not, Mauricio needs to get his shot. Diaz finally blows a save, and the Mets get back-to-back hits with runners in scoring position. The world is upside down right now. Let me start with the Diaz pitching a second inning. Didn't even think about it. And the reason I didn't think about it is we are still in June. I wasn't even sure he was going to be available based on the fact that this is Edwin Diaz now pitching in back-to-back games and 3 out of the last 4 days. It was already kind of, is he going to even be available? And he's not going to be available on Tuesday. He should be available Wednesday, but he's not going to be available for the Tuesday game. So I think knowing how much he's pitched recently, it's just not an option. It doesn't matter what the pitch count is. It doesn't matter who's coming up. It doesn't matter that they're playing the LA Dodgers. Look, the Mets are not, same with Dave Roberts, but the Mets are not treating the Dodgers any differently than they're going to treat any other team. Look at the rotation they have lined up to face LA. They're not treating it any differently, and I'm not even arguing that they should, nor is Carlos Mendoza going to manage it any differently. Doug in LA writes, as I witnessed Mark Vientos grab his hamstring in pain, I only have your words echoing through my head. Things have a way of taking care of themselves. Well, they certainly do. Hopefully Mark Vientos is going to be okay. I know that it excites people that Ronnie Mauricio may get an opportunity. Couple of things. A, he may not get that opportunity just because Vientos goes on the IL. And I think it's really important for this team to get him going. I do. I think that Mark Vientos is still a really important cog to this offense. And I disagree with Carlos Mendoza. I'd be playing him more. I don't think he plays him enough right now. I think they're in love with Jared Young. While Jared Young has put up some very good numbers in the minor leagues and the KBO, I want more Mark Vientos if it's up to me. Christopher Kagan writes, hustling too much is bad for Vientos. We saw it with Stanton and the Yankees. His bat is more important than his hustle. Sometimes trying too hard is a double whammy. I got to disagree in this sequence because Mark Vientos came up with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Oh, wait, I'm looking up. Was it bases loaded and 2 outs? Yeah. It was bases loaded. It was 2 outs. No. See, this is the problem, Hoff. I couldn't update my scorecard while we were doing the live Rico.
It was definitely 2 outs.
Yeah,
I can say that much.
It was first and third with 2 outs. That's what it was. And he hit one into the hole at shortstop. Of course you want him hustling because if he beats it out and a run scores, it's a 3-run game. So I agree that there are moments, especially with guys who may be injury prone, where it doesn't pay to bust it on every situation. But in the top of the 10th inning with 2 outs, up by 2, and an RBI right there, if you can beat it out, I got no problem with him hustling. No problem at all. Major props to Jose Castillo. I know that sounds weird because he came in and walked the guy and gave up a hit. That strikeout against Max Muncy was monstrous. That game could have gotten away from him and the Mets. His strikeout on Muncy kind of stopped the bleeding, as I said, while we were doing the live play-by-play. And then excellent work by Jose Butto, who comes in, he's been shaky all year, and gets 2 big outs against 2 good hitters, Will Smith and Tommy Edman, and we have ourselves a victory. Now, a little self-evaluation, and I'll ask the emailers how you feel about it. Do you really want us doing Rico Brogna's in the middle of games? I thought the 10th inning, and I don't know how it sounded as a podcast, but I thought the 10th inning was painful. I would much rather just be sitting there watching it by myself. But you tell me, Pete, did you like our new experience of doing a Rico as a game was concluding?
I did. I think, well, listen, obviously, it was an experiment. We could try other things. Like, I think maybe next time we see if Positive Tommy's up and we see if he wants to join the watch party for a little bit. But honestly, no, I mean, because the reaction was perfect. I mean, dude, you can't ask for anything more. That's the only thing you can ask for is a Francisco Lindor game-winning home run, which you got, last year before, game 161. This was that feel, though. Like, it's the last inning. We see the final out live. You got the good reaction. So to me, it was good.
What I do like about it, and I hope that some people are consuming it this way, is that these West Coast games are very late. And while I stay up for it and you stay up for it, and I know there's a lot of people watching us live right now, and we appreciate it, and you guys stayed up for it, a lot of people don't. A lot of people fall asleep. And so maybe they're going to find out how this game ended by downloading and listening to the Rico Brogna. And if that's the case, then hopefully you enjoyed our freakouts, negativity, and reactions to the 10th inning as the New York Mets defeat the Los Angeles Dodgers. In 10 innings, they have now won 3 straight against the Dodgers. They have won 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers. And off we go to game 2 of this 4-game series. You can email us with your thoughts, thericob@gmail.com, thericob@gmail.com. And remember, this is why you should subscribe to the Rico Brogna and subscribe to the WFAN YouTube page, because you never know when we're going to go live in the middle of the game or give you an instant reaction. Thank you very much for listening to episode 492, overnight, late night, Met Baseball edition of Rico Brogna.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Rico Brogna podcast. It's amazing, isn't it? Make sure you download it now to keep it on you at all times.